Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about a separation written by Kitamura. This came out in 2017, and I'm trying to read more of Katie's prior works before digging into her long-listed Booker Prize novel Audition next. So this book came out in 2017. I've also read Intimacies, which came out in 2021. Katie Kitamura is one of my favorite authors, primarily because I feel that she has a very unique writing style and a very unique voice. I've been doing a lot of reading the last 4 or 5 years, and sometimes the tone or feel that you get from reading a lot of speculative fiction starts to feel the same. And that's something that I never feel with Katie's books, and also Jeff Vandermeer, who wrote the Annihilation trilogy. I really like her crisp and almost striking writing style, and I feel that she's the kind of writer that really has a true economy when it comes to both the words that she uses, but also the plot points that she reveals. The premise of this book is our main character is a woman who has decided to separate from her husband, Christopher, but they haven't informed their parents or their wider social circle, but they aren't living together anymore and they've decided to separate. When one day Christopher's mother calls up the main character and asks her if she has heard from Christopher recently, because she has not, and she's wondering what's going on with her son. We are never given the name of the protagonist, but the entire story is told from her point of view. It's her interior thinking, and it's told in that first person kind of point of view. With the phone call from Isabella, our main character agrees to go to Greece, partly because she doesn't want to necessarily reveal to Isabella that she and Christopher have separated. That's kind of an underlying theme throughout the book, is why our main character doesn't want to be upfront with that. And I think one of the key overarching feelings or themes that Katie Kitamura wants us to think about, reflect on, and kind of feel is this gap between reality and like our imagined interior selves. So there's something jarring about telling Christopher's mom that they've decided to separate that prevents our main character from telling her that, because she simply could say, oh, I didn't go on this trip with Christopher to Greece because we're not together anymore. But instead of doing that, she agrees to fly to Greece to try and find Christopher and figure out what's going on. I won't spoil any more of the plot. I do highly recommend checking out this book. It's a very slim novel, and I feel that it really packs a punch given how short it is. You do kind of have to be in the right headspace though, because I do feel that Katie Kitamura's writing style is very taut and very loaded. So if you're not going to be able to really absorb or focus, I feel that her writing is not as effective. So I definitely had to like get in the groove and get in the right mind space to be in a sort of very reflective and terse writing environment, if that makes sense. But the plot is interesting, and there was part of me that wanted to keep reading to find out what happens. So if you're someone that does need some plot, I will say that a lot of things do happen, including like a huge surprise to me. I wasn't really expecting so much plot. In Intimacies, there's not a lot of stuff that happens. It's really more of a reflective novel that meditates on the idea of what it means to be a criminal and kind of what we lose when we speak different languages and we translate. So I came in with the expectation that there wasn't going to be a lot of plot, but there actually is. So that I think is something to draw you in. But even the plot aside, I really enjoyed just reading a chapter and then just kind of thinking about the things that were shared in the chapter. Our central character is extremely introspective, and whenever she meets someone, so she basically, the whole novel takes place at this hotel in Greece, not in Athens, in a seaside town that's several hours away, so kind of in the countryside or a rural village. And most of the book, I would say almost all the book, takes place in this hotel, and she meets a variety of characters, including a driver, the concierge at the hotel, a woman who is on staff there, and they kind of form this backdrop. They're all from that village, and they're all used to dealing with tourists, but they know each other because they're from the same village. And one thing I found really interesting about this book is our main character, every time she meets someone, she does a lot of internal work where she will build out this whole backstory and this whole interpretation of that person just based on very superficial interactions or things that they do or things that they say. And in particular, this isn't a spoiler, but she knows that her husband has been unfaithful to her and is a big flirt and probably has cheated on her multiple times. Well, obviously throughout her marriage, but also probably on this trip to Greece as well. So using these little facts that she already knows, she kind of extrapolates like, oh, I could tell from the way that woman looked that she probably had been wooed by Christopher. And at the beginning of those speculations, it seems kind of far-fetched, but she tends to be correct. And there's a gray line. I think it's a bit blurry how much we can really trust the protagonist as a reliable narrator. A lot of times her instincts are spot on, but other times you have no way of knowing or verifying what she is speculating about a character, whether it's true or not. And I think it just builds into this overall feeling that Katie's trying to establish in this novel, where we don't ever really know like how well we know someone else, especially in the case of wanting to separate from her husband, but also that's not even really the main relationship that's discussed. It's really a lot more, I thought, about her interactions with this cast of characters in Greece, but also with Christopher's mom, Isabella. The author, Katie Kitamura, definitely uses that relationship with the mom to share a lot of the message that she wants to get across, I feel, in terms of different perspectives or perceptions of the same person. It's like a very tried and true example, like how a wife views her husband versus how the husband's mother views the man. But throughout the book, you'll get like little tidbits where Katie Kitamura is kind of expounding or extending on this theme of, just like what it means to like exist, not to be too high and mighty. When I say something, it sounds so abstract, but you know, this whole novel, we're completely focused on trying to find Christopher. The main character is constantly thinking about Christopher. His mom is beside herself, and Christopher is such a mysterious character. Like, we don't really know why he went to Greece. We know he went to ostensibly like work on his research, which is about these women that go to funerals in Greece, and they're the externalization of the grief that the family members feel. So they will cry and mourn and like weep, but they're hired to do that. So we know that Christopher is there for his work and for research, but you know, we never meet him in the novel, and we only see him through the eyes of other characters. So that, I think, is extremely interesting, because we obviously get the very dominant perspective of the narrator, but then we also do see Christopher through the eyes of other characters in the book. And just overall, I got this kind of like creepy feeling of like not really being able to fully pin down the narrator. Clearly, Christopher is pretty mysterious, and the things that happen in the book are a little bit strange. And I also feel that the internal dialogue of the main character is a little bit like reflective and introspective to the point of being creepy, which I really loved. If not creepy, then at least like she kind of takes things too far. Like she'll just have these small interactions with people, but then she'll imagine all these things about them. And that's another thing I really related to, because I also do a lot of solo travel, and she's on this trip by herself. And I feel one thing I really like about solo travel is you're so much more in the moment and in the place, because you have so much time to just think about, you're like, oh, is that guy looking at me? Or is that woman doing something strange? Whereas if you're with your friends or with your family traveling somewhere, you don't even notice those things because your attention is so fully absorbed by the people you're with. And so as a single woman on this trip or in Greece for several days, she just spends the whole book and all of her thought process kind of observing and drawing these little connections, or these little realizations or these conclusions, which we have no idea if they're true or not, around all the people that she meets or interacts with. So I think that is probably my favorite part about reading this book. I don't think it's for everyone, but I just love that it's so unique, and that I just feel that you can really tell that Kitamura put so much effort and time and thought into creating this experience and what she wants to say. When there are a lot of books out there that I feel are just a lot more straightforward and on the nose, this one is a little bit of an odd one, and that's why I like it so much. So I'm really excited to read Audition, I believe is the name of her book that just came out. Like I said, it got longlisted for the Booker Prize, which is really exciting. I feel like a few of my friends and I have been following Katie for a while. When my dad and I went to the Jaipur Literary Festival last year or the year before, we met her and I got to ask her a question and she signed my books. So I think she's very well known among people who read, but maybe she hasn't really necessarily like had mainstream success yet. Or, I mean, I think she's very successful, but with her nomination on the Booker long list, like, she's for sure now reached into another echelon. So I kind of feel a little bit of protectiveness about her. But that aside, I just am like so excited to read Audition, and I was not disappointed by A Separation at all. I'm pretty sure those are her main novels. Let me check. Oh, so I'm wrong. She has two other books, Gone to the Forest and The Long Shot. I guess The Long Shot was her debut novel. It came out in 2009. I think she really came onto the scene with Intimacies in 2021. I think that is her most widely read book, which I also really like. That book like doesn't have a very in-your-face plot, but it makes you think about a lot of different things. So I feel like her novels, at least the two that I've read, are books that I really feel that I can come back to. I have like some sticky notes on passages that I feel like really make me think and I want to revisit, but they don't feel just dropped in there without reason. Like, it feels very well crafted, and it just feels very ripe and very rich soil for a lot of different ideas and discussion. So I would love to discuss this. If any of you have read it, please leave a comment down below. If you do end up reading it, please reach out to me so you can let me know what you thought. And I so appreciate you guys watching my videos. I really am having a lot of fun just reading a lot and making these videos. Please do check out my other film podcast that I film with a couple of my friends called Real Talk. And then I am gonna maybe try to read a little bit more Singapore fiction. I feel like I've been slacking. Last year I read so much Singlit, I got a little bit burnt out, but I just went to the library and I picked up a couple interesting fiction books, so I might have some videos in the future with some Singlit included as well. Thanks for watching!